Okay, we got a little bit of musical intro. So what's the update for today? Well, I got up and put on my leather jacket because it's sort of cold in Eastern Europe. And I went down to Cafe Nero, which is a chain, sort of like Starbucks, except better in Eastern Europe. And had a flat white. It's just coffee and milk. I don't know what the difference between that and Americano is. It's sort of like a latte anyway. But so I sat down. That was a good looking brunette. To my left, I sat on the couch facing her. It was comfortable for my back because I've been sleeping on this bed that's actually two little mattresses shoved together. Just the way they do things here, I don't know why. And so, sat at that couch, propped up some pillows behind my back. That was that good-looking brunette seemed to have a rather stern face. I'm sure she looked really good in a bikini. But won't see that in the fall. It's down to about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And then another petite brunette. Well, the other one was tall. The petite brunette was up at talking to the barista, getting her coffee. And she walked by and I noticed she had wonderfully well-fitting jeans. And I checked her out. Then I started reading a book by Hume on ideas and impressions and what comes first, or how they interact with each other, the initial impression and then the idea that's formed after the impression from the senses. So you smell something, you see something, you hear something, feel something with your tactile senses. And then you form an idea of it. And so these directly correspond. Afterwards becomes the imagination and memory. And the memory is more accurate than the imagination because imagination adds to the memory. Subjective interpretation of the memory. But if you have three impressions in a row, and you'll have three ideas in a row, and they will be linked one to the next. So you will associate these impressions with these ideas that are formed from the impressions. And the farther away from the initial impressions the ideas are formed, the weaker they are. And then added the memory, which is more accurate than the imagination, also produces the imagination's additions, which distort the initial impression idea combination, which apparently is accurate unless you have pre-formed ideas in the brain, in the consciousness, which digest the impressions according to memorized memories of ideas. So you will be thinking in a framework, whether you like it or not, because you already have a preconceived idea of the impression that you are sensing, that you are receiving now. So your impressions of now are colored by your ideas of these similar impressions in the past, and they're all linked one after another in a series of ideas that are derived from impressions. So in your consciousness, there is already formed a chain of ideas preconceived based on the impressions that are new that you will have today. And later, these will be replaced with imagination, which works on the memory. These e-cigarette type things, you continually have to light them up again. They always go out. That's why I'm sucking so hard on this e-cigarette thing, whatever it is. It's just easier than lighting up a cig and going out on the balcony in the increasing cold. So, this is the blog of Eastern European nomadic impressions. And if you have any questions, I've been to several countries recently. 3 years in Ukraine, and then subsequently I had to leave, of course, the war. Then I spent 2 months, after 1 month in Poland in February. I went for 2 months in Porto, Portugal. And then after that, I went to Cornwall, England for 1 month. And then after that, I went to Los Angeles, California for 1 month. And then I returned to Eastern Europe somewhere. Some of you may guess where I am. It's really not that important. But I'm getting a residence permit here. And those are my observations for today. It's a rather boring day. I went to the mini market and got some rye crisp, some Swedish cracker bread, which I eat with hummus. It's a relatively low-calorie snack. And that's all for today.